Today's grammar tip is passive focus. We use passive focus in English and Indonesian, although normally in English, your English teachers will probably tell you not to use it. Something you need to be aware of is that passive focus and active focus have some different names. You might hear it called passive construction and active construction. You might also hear passive focused called object construction and active focus called subject construction. But for now, here's some examples of passive focus and active focus in English. So as you can see, these two sentences pretty much mean the same thing. The dog bit the man is in effect the same meaning as the man was bitten by the dog. One more thing you need to know. In all languages, the subject is the doer and the object is the doee. The subject is the part of the sentence that does the verb, and the object is the part of the sentence that has the verb done to it. So in this case, the man is receiving the action of biting. The dog is doing the action of biting. Let's look at how this works in Indonesian with a couple of quick examples. Let's look at how to change an Indonesian subject-focused sentence to become an object-focused sentence. In this example, anjing makan ayam, the dog eats the chicken, becomes the chicken was eaten by the dog. Oleh is an optional word. You don't have to include it if you don't want to, but it does sound a bit better if you do use it. Passive verbs in this case have a D before the base verb. If you used the word sepak, which means kick, it would become disepak, which means was kicked. However, this is only one part of making passive sentences. This is what we call third person passive. In general, SVO for active becomes ODV oleh S in passive. Let's have a look at when this is not the case. So now we've had a look at third person passive. Now it's time to have a look at first and second person passive. Whether you use first and second person or third person passive depends on the subject. If the subject is any one of these or a bunch more, that is basically anything where it involves whoever you are or a person that you are talking to, you use the first and second passive rule. We're not going to get bogged down in the details of which is first and which is second for now, but just know if there's anything of either, if you're referring to yourself as the subject or the person that you are talking to or any group of those people as the subject, you use first and second passive voice. Let's write a little rule here. These are the 3 rules you need to know. We've already talked about active being subject, verb, then object. We've talked about third person passive being object, verb, ole, subject. What you use for first and second person passive is object, subject, and then the verb without a prefix. Here's an example. So for a first person active sentence like saya membaca buku, I read the book, in passive, in English, it sounds a little bit like the patterns of speech of Yoda. So it becomes buku saya baca. The book I read. Let's do a couple more examples. The example that we're going to use is saya menjemput temanku, which means I picked up my friend. It's first person because it's got saya. To change it into a passive, SVO becomes OSV with the verb without the suffix would look like this. Temanku saya jemput. Let's take it back to that original form. But this time, let's change the actor. Let's change the subject. Barry. So now this is Barry picked up my friend. This is no longer a first person sentence because the subject is Barry. Not anything to do with me, not anything to do with you, not anything to do with the person that I'm speaking to. So now this is a third person sentence, which means we need to change something else when we change it into passive. Because SVO needs to become ODV ole S. Let's change that now. Now that this is in third person passive, it becomes temanku dijemput oleh Barry. ODV ole S. Hopefully it made at least a little bit of sense on how to change from active to passive in Indonesian. I'm also going to leave a link in the description to a really, really useful textbook that you can use to get some further information. Until next time, have a good day.